getting into today, replacing this nasty, rusty motor. Oh, fun. About 250, 25, somewhere in there. So it's a small little guy, thankfully. Gonna, of course, take those off. This is what happened. It's single phased and nuked itself. Here goes the chain hoist. Now, what I normally do here is piggyback them if I can't get down far enough. So I'll use a rope or another chain to hold the motor while I get this up, because if it can't go down far enough, I'm going to put a chain on it. I'll get up as high as I can, tie off the motor, take the chain off the come along, and then get that up. This is a good lesson for life too. Don't rush into a repair. Take some time to get set up. Do yourself a favor. Even though this swing's open, I'm obviously going to take it off. But you'll be fighting yourself all day if you don't kind of get, you know, a good workflow established from the beginning. By the way, when you're getting these universal joints, don't get the limp dick ones. You know, the ones where the socket hangs down too far. This is all you need. This ball style to get into these kind of tight places. Hard to do that through a screen. Just like that, see? Now these right here are difficult to get aligned because you've got this to worry about. So when you cinch this down, it tends to change the location of your pulley, right? Because this is what's hugging the shaft. So you got to make your mark on this, and as long as you know the alignment was good enough, I just match up the marks. But you want to mark where this hub goes, and then you pull this pulley up to it. I don't use Sharpie for that. Can anybody guess why? Because the penetrating oil will take that Sharpie right off. You want carbide scribe, and you want to mark it in more than one place. Now, you do a mark like this, but you also want to do like an arrow style. Where was that? Yeah. You want to do like a V style, because if it disappears, you can use your eyeballs to basically project where that tip would have been if it gets scratched off in the process of removing this. Couple quick tips here. I like keeping the sockets that I need in the actual puller case. This is an OTC, and for the life of me, I can't understand why HVAC people don't buy mechanic tools for mechanic things, and then the mechanics won't buy HVAC tools for the HVAC things. You wouldn't believe how much their shitty ass gauges cost. They could have 2 field pieces sometimes for that shit off the tool truck. They need to convert over to Espins, am I right? Okay, so I'm gonna lay this here so I get these arms in the right place. This isn't as good as a posi lock, but it's still pretty good because we have this bar. Then I'm gonna get them close, and we're gonna put it on there. Now this is why you need an automotive puller for HVAC. I mean, that's a lot of depth right there. But basically, I just got it snugged up so it'll stay in place. And now I'm gonna tighten everything up. All right, here we go. All right, let me show you something here. So these are the tensioners. We want to leave those unless we want to swing this out to get these off. But there's more than one way to skin a cat, always. Semi-truck is the best way, but there are other ways as well. So if we go in here and start to get these, they're probably going to spin. But once you crack them loose, you can grab them with something like a pair of Nippics that's not going to mar that, the plier wrenches. Then you can get them off and, you know, finagle with them that way. But with this being hinged and whatnot, I might try to swing it out. All right, the reason I own every size of these is because they ratchet, which normal channel locks will do as well. But basically, you tighten your grip to turn and loosen it, and then that jaw comes up. But because of the rust on these, we can't spin them off by hand, so we're just gonna sit here and do this, but it's pretty much the fastest way to do it. All right, pretty much every electrician knows this, but get these Romex connectors off. Oh, this one's loose anyway. But a screwdriver, something like this, and then just hammer it. Now, you do want to mark your wires. By the way, I've got this thing locked out and tagged out, so make sure you always do that. But mark your wires. I've already checked that it's dead, right? Then you mark them. But I was doing this during diagnostics. For this motor, all our labels are gone. We're just gonna hook it up. And then if it's spinning backwards, we're not gonna get in here and mess with it because that's a pain in the ass. We're gonna go to the VFD and just switch 2 legs. Got everything disconnected, get stuff out of the way, even if you gotta use zip ties. And, you know, we gotta take this down anyway. Now, when I was a young guy, I used to wait till the end to do all that, but I gotta take it down, and it's gonna be in the way. So as soon as this thing is loose, in fact, before it's loose and falls, we're just gonna put the chain hoist on it and get it out of the way. And that's kind of common sense, but man, when I was a young dude, I just rushed into everything. That's my personality, and I had to learn some balance there. All right, so I've just been in different situations over the years, so I've developed kind of my own method. But on the old motor, I'm gonna see what I can see, because I've got new motors that aren't even marked well. Like, all the marking has been rubbed off. I don't know how it happened, but on a brand new motor, you can lose your markings. So I just take as much information as I can from the old motor and keep it in case I need it to figure something out. But we have a T5 to T8, and if you don't know, this is going to be wiring this motor for different voltages, okay? So we do need to check and make sure these are the exact same as far as the way that they're wired, and then, you know, we can double check some of this. I got a T2 that I can't read, and a T6 going to something like this. And you know, Sharpie does write on everything, but it gets real trashy. A ballpoint pen is a real good way to write on stuff, and then it just disappears after a while. So let's get this motor off of here and try to get this one mounted. All right, you see how the old limp dick works? I mean, this is a lifesaver. Make sure you get that. Now, I'm not just using a lot of old school guys are, you know, pride themselves on doing everything by hand, and that's great. But you don't use something like this just for speed. See, the way an impact works, unless these are super rusted, I mean, sometimes you can hold them even with your hand or a pair of like needle nose, because an impact, it puts hammer torque on a fastener, which is a lot different from constant torque. There are so many advantages to hammer torque, and that's why we love impacts. I actually forgot I brought this, but this is even a little better than the scribe mark to, you know, lock in that measurement, but I'm gonna go ahead and match this up to that scribe mark to lock it in. One thing I meant to do before, but just went ahead and did it after the fact, is on these plates, man, they can be set up for a lot of different motors and modified and all that. So you want to mark your holes. So when you got a heavy motor, you just want to know exactly where you got to go. You don't want to be fiddling around with it. Now you can use a chain or a big ass carabiner, but it helps to have something like this, and you need to be careful, you know, that this doesn't slip off. But just to get you closer to that angle, so you're not like fighting it up against there. You know, it gets hard to get these on studs, but basically all you got to do is get that one lined up, put a bolt in it, and then that's your hinge to get everything else lined up, okay? All right, I got that one bolted. We're swinging it up, getting this one bolted, and yes, it did go in that hole. Dude, I'm working with. See, these are called witness marks, and it's a good idea to check it because I assumed it was that one, but it was that one. And then we're going to let the tension off and the butt will swing down, easy peasy. These are called like a lady's slipper or something weird, I can't remember. Cat's claw and framing kind of, but you've got this pointy end, and this is what that's for, so you can get your holes lined up with some leverage. So we're gonna use that to help us line up over here. Now with something like this, I'm gonna leave this in place because I don't want to be tightening these with the motor fighting them. And we're not just gonna run this down. We snug them all up so I'm not deforming this plate. And then we go back and tighten them all. And that's, you know, that's automotive 101, but sometimes you can get in a hurry, and yes, you can warp something like that if you just go full gorilla on it. I'm telling you, these battery powered fans, man, they are a lifesaver. Amazing how good it feels just to have a little airflow. And that'll make a pretty good time. So now we're gonna get that on there and use our mark, get this lined up, everything cinched down. Now without a puller, or if it had come off too hard, you really are supposed to take this out first, but these are pretty skinny bolts, and if this is seized up real bad, I don't want to snap one off in there. But what we're going to do now is use these to pull this up. And because you're separating these two, that's why we needed a mark based on this and nothing to do with this. We're going to get this set, and then we're going to pull this up to it. All right. Now this collar right here, this is a new style, split collar, see? See that? Split collar. But anyways, we're gonna get it going, and you know, it'll be fine, and we can replace that later. But once this all gets tight, that key is gonna be fine. So, especially because these are on a VFD, but that's not good. You know, this does need to be replaced. So now we're gonna get this set and get everything snugged up. All right, so I got these just loosely in there. Now I'm gonna start to get this thing set. Finish these by hand because with an impact it's just hard to tell whether you're still pulling or you're tight or what. So I don't want to snap these off, that'd be a nightmare. I'm going to finish this with a ratchet. The technique for tightening something like this on a rotating surface is basically, see, if you try to tighten it like this, you're using all of your leverage against you. So what you want to do is get your hand lined up with the ratchet and then you're just like, you're sort of just gonna, you're just trying to swing out with it, and that takes away that rotational torque. Here, watch this. I'm just gonna swing out, and it takes away that rotational torque, where if I'm at 90 degrees, I'm slipping. So, a little tip there. Got her all wired up. Now we're gonna check rotation. I wanted to get some new belts on there, but we had to order them. Typically that size is not in stock anywhere. All right, man, she's going the right way. So you can go ahead and button that back up and get her going. Looking good. Now remember, always check your amps to make sure you're not over amping the motor. A couple other little tidbits. I mentioned keeping sockets with all your tools. You know, you can just go to the pawn shop and get these for cheap, but they never fit in the case. So I normally either do that or cut in a slot like this, and then you can bend this piece down and that'll keep that socket from disappearing. But let's see, I try to keep some extra stuff in here that's useful, you know, to sort of get on odd stuff, push odd things.